this is Scott Carpenter. I want to welcome you to my series on the Sasquatch Awareness Project, on what do they look like. And this is part 3. And today I'm going to concentrate on the unusual. I've already talked about how they, surprisingly, I'd say 90% of the time, those who have encounters with these beings, they look surprisingly human, almost shockingly so. But there are some people who encounter them, and I have as well, that they don't have the human features. They have unusual features on their faces. Some are monster looking. I don't know how else to say it. Some are just strange looking, odd. Some have an upturned nose. Some have pointed ears. Some have been reported, most of the time the teeth, the ones I've seen, especially that smiled at me, had big old white chiclet teeth, no mandibles or anything like that, no eye teeth. And then, but other people have reported them of, having a canine back here in the canine, like farther back in the mouth, not up front, having the fangs. Having fangs, and so it just depends on which Sasquatch you encounter, and again that goes back to genetic diversity and the possibility that there's been some definite genetic tinkering with their genome going on, and I won't get into that today, but it's always a possibility that there's been some manipulation of their genetics, their genome, to get to what they are in the modern times. So what I wanted to do here, and I will pull it up, I've got some of my photos, and I've also got some drawings from Sibylla Irwin. Again, let me give her a plug. She go to my the website, and there's a link for her there, and it's also in the book, that she volunteers her time to do witness sketches, and please go pay her a visit to her website, and it's just amazing work, and I appreciate all she does, and she does it of her own free time to help people. So keep that in mind as we go through these. So this first picture here, this is a really odd looking one. This one was this is an infrared, and it's near the Great Smoky Mountains. It's probably one of the hair donors, and this is a case where this is one of the peekers. This is the situation where they would set off the trail camera and then peek between these two trees. And this guy right here, again, this little knob beside its cheek is 8 foot off the ground. So this guy's a good nine footer. And you can see just the, almost a ghoulish look. But, of course, this is at night, it's infrared, but it's still just, just an odd looking Sasquatch, but, not uncommon. This guy here, this is another at night on the infrared, and he was looking around a tree at the camera. This was in a different location, about 2 miles away. But you can see the ear here. You can definitely see his eye, and it's glowing quite. This one, how I caught this one is every now and then he would blink, and which is interesting that he blinked the camera, but I've seen him not blink at all during an encounter. But you can see again his features are kind of pronounced, kind of weird looking. This is me comparison. I stood in the same location with the same camera and did a head comparison. He was a lot taller, but I just wanted to get the size of the head. And this is how massive this creature is. I mean, look at my head and look, his head, his lower face is as big as my entire face. I mean, this thing is huge. I mean, to say he was a giant would be an understatement. And if I recall correctly, I should have done my research. I believe this guy was uh, over 10 feet based on where he was standing and the height of his head. Now here's a really creepy one. Again, a lot of people say, well, that's not a Sasquatch, that's something else, and that may be so. Now this was taken on the back trail camera. I got like 3 or 4 frames. This is the best frame. This was taken with a 480p way back. This has been 2009 or 10. This is just a really, creepy looking creature. I don't know if you could put him in the range of a Sasquatch or if he's something else. I was turning my shoulders when I caught him. In other words, there was a thick brush pile and I was doing the shoulder turn to walk away. And as I'm making the turn, you got a few frames of this guy sticking his head out from behind or through the foliage to take a peek at me. But definitely, this is definitely like almost a reptilian-like features. Really no visible hair. Well, a little patch down here, so it's hard to really tell. But I've actually got reports of the ghoulish or the reptilian-looking ones as well. There's just a close-up. This is one that was staring at me. This was an area where me and Dave got the vocals in the Great Smoky Mountains, and I was zooming in and out in a very tight situation down in the ravine. I saw this figure down there. I could see at that distance it was just black, and this was with the 1080p, but you can see some features here. You can see his eyes and his nostrils. And I did follow up on this guy, but that's another one. No hair on the head, very oblong shaped face, just a lot of distance here between underneath the nose and the mouth. A very droopy nose with a little protrusion here. Definitely some genetic diversity there. And this is just me where I went back a couple weeks later, the same spot, and zoomed in. And you can see here he's there, and 2 weeks later there's nothing there, so it's not a stump or some other natural formation. Now I've done this 2 or 3 times on this video, and what I did is when I first started out, I didn't have a lot of money, still don't, but didn't have a lot of money, and this was back in this. You got to remember, this 2008 and 9, and technology for the trail cameras was just brutal. I mean, it wasn't very good, and they actually made black and white cameras, and I was able to pick this one up on eBay for $10. And it was an afterthought camera. I had this was the old feeding station. I had like 3 or 4 cameras, or 3 cameras set up, and I backed off a ways and just set this one up and said, it was like the old heck camera. Just in other words, it was getting the whole scenario. And sure enough, that's the camera that gets a video. Now this thing is small. I'd had to guess it was about 2 to 3 feet tall. Comparing it, like when I would walk into the area, it would have been between my knee and my hip. So, in that height range. It's not a chipmunk. It's not a bobcat. It's not one of these crazy things. It literally has hair on its face and a beard. And it has been over eating something, and it realized, I don't know if it hears something or realizes it's being either filmed or something's coming, and it jerks its head up, and it does it so fast. I mean, it's 30 frames per second. It's like in 2 frames, and when it does, you can see the hair flow out from its face, and then the beard. That's how fast it literally goes up so fast that the beard goes out. and then the beard settles. And it kind of, he's kind of, but I went through this really strenuously. I wanted to show you this because I had more than one Native American look at this and tell me this was a little person. It wasn't a Sasquatch. And the little people, actually there's multiple different types of little people, but there's one race of little people that kind of look like a Sasquatch, except they're small. They're 3 or 4 foot tall. And then there's another race of little people that look like are just normal human looking, except proportionally they're small. They're like 3 or 4 feet. So there's all kinds of different things running around out there. But I thought this would be interesting, and I'm going to run through this. Now, if you'll look, you got to watch right here. This is where he's at, and he's bent over. That's his left eye and the top of his head. And so I'm just going to run through. You can see here he pops up, and then he just kind of sits there, and this went through to the end. And when he first pops up, it's pretty cool. I have to leave it small like this. If I blow this up, this camera's resolution stinks. I blow it up, it's just it's bad. So right here is when he comes up. You can see the beard, the hair right there on his face jut out. He's got a little pug nose. And then he just kind of sits there. He kind of bobbles his head back and forth a little bit, opens and closes his eyes. Now, I worked really hard on this right here, and this is the best frame I could find. And I did the thing where I dumped it frame by frame and went frame by frame, and then I adjusted the contrast and the brightness, sharpened it up, deblurred it. And this is the best I could do. He's got some sort of scraggly beard covering his mouth. You can see his left and right eye. And right there's his nose. And there's a limb going right through there. But that was taken, I can't remember, it's taken on one of these right through here. And it just painstakingly, worked to even get it that clear. Of course, now this is a drawing. I'm trying to get better at my sketches, but that, based on that, I took that and got that. And when and some like lots of times when I do these drawings, I don't take, I get a good picture like this that gives me a base, but like in one frame the ear may be visible, in the next frame the mouth may be better visible, in the next frame a cheek. So you kind of have to take all the components of, I got like 60 frames that were out of this 2 seconds, and so you have to go through each frame and just pick out the best parts. And that's there you go. There's my sketch of what this thing looked like. He has I think it's pretty obvious he has a Fu Manchu type situation going on. You can see there and there. Plus he's got a couple strands in the front hanging down. But artist license, I took those out. So there you go. This was a ghoulish one. I've shown this before. This was from my backyard back in 2011. And he's down there looking. The camera's on the back of the deck. And this one, again, has that ghoulish look. The real long gap between the nose and the top of the mouth. And he's just, he's got just one of those looks. And there it is. The eyes are glowing in the infrared. Here's one that's got the upturned nose. I think I've told this story many times, not a story, an account. But I saw this one with my own 2 eyes. It was actually on top of a hill about 100 yards up. I was coming around a point, saw a movement, looked up. At first I thought it was a bear. And then, after it moved a couple times, it was actually facing me and sidestepping, trying to get to to some heavy, thicker brush because it was kind of out in the open. I don't think I surprised it. I think it wanted me to see it. And as I was watching, it was looking at me, and I was looking at it. As I took the camera, like I had the monopod, and I watched it for a second or two doing that, and then it hit me. Sasquatch. And I've got a monopod. I don't. I did have it running. That's true. I had it. Never not have it running. And so I bring the monopod up to my eye to focus, and as soon as I did, he took like a little hop skip and jumped, literally jumped up and then landed. And when he did, he went into what I call the stump position. In other words, he squatted down, had his knees up, wrapped his hands around his knees, and just hunkered down, and then and the interesting thing is he's not looking at me. He's giving me the side eye, what I call the side eye. He's not like looking down the hill at the camera. He's just blankly staring forward, and you can see this. This is one of the better frames in the right here in the video. And I mean, he is in the thick brush. Even with the 1080p, it was very difficult to get any good frames. But you can see him here. And he's in his stump pose. But here's the characteristic this one has that there are some others. He has an upturned nose. Instead of a hooded nose, his nose is up. Like a pig nose. It's up with two large nostrils. And you can see here, he managed to get this limb across his face, which I don't think is an accident. And you can see here that he's got this limb is pressing down his left nostril, but his nose is upturned. And though when you zoom in, he looked black to me, but and his legs were black. There's his fingers around one leg right there, but he's got like light gray eyebrows, and his ear sticks out quite a bit. And you can see there, and then he's just crazy looking. I've got to pause. I got to go. Be right back. Sorry about that. I had to let the dog in. So as you can see, this one's got the upturned nose, and doesn't have this. He's got a little bit of a monster-like appearance. He doesn't look like he's really happy right there. And then there's some cutouts, some close-ups. That's a sketch I did based on that right there, so you can kind of see. I just had to fill in everything from here down. But the nose is upturned, and it's like I said, you can see right there the nose, and that's his right eye. But you can see that's pressing down on the nostril, but his nose is upturned and open. Right there's when you zoom in and try to blow it up, but that's about as good as you can get it. I mean, he's got his ears sticking way out, so that's the way it is. Sorry. And so, but anyway, that's that's definitely one with the upturned nose. And there's another good shot. You can see the fingers right there where he's wrapped around his leg. And he's mostly black, but in his face he's gray. And there's the two nostrils upturned. And there's the sketch. So this guy here, he's another one that doesn't have standard features, so to speak. He's got a very small nose. It's very high on his face, almost between his eyes, with a huge gap here between his the nose and it's it's protruding. And you can see his little gray ear, and then his mouth's open, and you can see his teeth, and his teeth aren't really in good shape. You can see there. So his teeth are kind of messed up, kind of rotted. He's got his mouth open, But this one was what? This is only this was with. Was this a 4K? No, this was 1080p. It was back trail, leaving the Great Smoky Mountains, just about less than a quarter mile away from the parking lot. But again, look how high his nose is, and then the huge gap and the protrusion there on the lower part of the mouth. There's the original still capture, and then there's the blow up. And I didn't doctor this or anything like that. Be writing me no emails. Yeah, when you blow it up, you can see how it still pixelates. But this is just contrast and adjusting the contrast, the brightness, de-blurring it, sharpening it some, using tools like that to clean it up. Now, this is one of Sibylla Irwin's sketches, and I wanted to compare it with this guy with the upturned nose. Notice this one has an upturned nose. Here's one that's very apish. I mean, really apish. So why I don't think they're apes, this one right here has some very ape-like features. Here's another one with an upturned nose. How the nostrils, instead of a hooded nose, the more like a pig snout. So there's another one. These are different. These are actual witness sketches that Sibylla Irwin did. Now here's another one of the creepy ones. Very creepy. Just another, like I say, very ghoulish looking one. He's between the peking tree and it's infrared. Extremely wide mouth, weird looking stuff going on around the nose. Of course, I think that's some artifacts around the fact that it's where was I? Got interrupted. So where was I here? So I got interrupted by a phone call. But yeah, this one's really ghoulish looking, and we're back around to the beginning. So the bottom line is, and for those who have had experiences, I know, like I said, most of the time an experiences with one that looks surprisingly human, but that's not always the case. And definitely wanted to go over the exceptions and those that don't look human, because there's those people are saying, oh hey, the one I saw didn't look like that, and why they are genetically a human hybrid. There's all kinds of physical variations, just like there is in the human population, with fat noses, skinny noses, fat lips, skinny lips, high cheekbones, pointy nose, stubby nose, blue eyes, brown eyes. Some people have a squatty head, some people have a fat head, so it's the same thing with the Sasquatch. But I did, want you to be aware that they can look strange and odd as well as looking very human. As long as looking very human. So thank you all for watching. Holidays are coming up, and it's been a while since I put out a video, and I apologize. Just a lot going on, preparing for a trip and all kinds of, just get a family stuff and work. But y'all take care. God bless. Until next time, be careful out there.